Edward pushed his cleaning cart through the crystalline corridors of the Velkari embassy, his worn boots squeaking against floors that gleamed like liquid starlight. 3 years he'd worked here, 3 years of being invisible to the towering insectoid diplomats who barely acknowledged his existence. To them, he was just another human, expendable, unremarkable, useful only for menial labor. The garden assignment was new. Ambassador Thelixus had specifically requested a human janitor to maintain the private biodome, citing their adequate understanding of carbon-based flora. Edward suspected it was just another way to keep humans in their place, tending to alien weeds while the galaxy moved on without them. The biodome stretched before him like a fever dream. Bioluminescent vines twisted around trees with bark that pulsed like heartbeats. Flowers bloomed in colors that hurt to perceive, their petals folding through dimensions Edward's eyes weren't meant to see. He'd learned to look past the impossible beauty and focus on his checklist. Trim, sweep, water, repeat. It was during his third sweep of the southern quadrant that he noticed it. Beneath a curtain of hanging moss that writhed like living hair, partially buried under centuries of accumulated soil and root systems, was a door. Not Velkari architecture. Their buildings grew more than they were built. This was human-made steel. Old earth steel, scarred and pitted with age, but unmistakable. Edward's heart hammered against his ribs. He shouldn't investigate. Curiosity was dangerous for humans in the Galactic Union. But his hands were already moving, pulling away moss, clearing debris. The door had no handle, no visible lock. Just a flat panel beside it, dead and dark. He pressed his palm against the panel. Nothing. Then, a flicker. Blue light traced the lines of his hand, scanning. A sound like grinding gears echoed from somewhere deep below. The door shuddered, then began to sink into the floor, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. Edward should have walked away. Should have reported it. Should have done anything except grab his flashlight and descend those stairs. The air grew colder with each step. The walls changed from Velkari bioorganic to human concrete, cracked and stained with time. At the bottom, another door stood open, revealing a vast chamber lit by emergency lights that flickered with stubborn persistence. Cryopods, hundreds of them, arranged in perfect rows like sleeping giants. And inside each pod a human face frozen in time. "Oh God," Edward whispered. His flashlight beam swept across a nearby terminal. The screen was cracked but functional, displaying a date that made his blood run cold. 2247. 300 years ago. Before the Velkari arrived. Before humanity's integration into the Galactic Union, before humans became second-class citizens in their own corner of space. Footsteps behind him. Edward spun, flashlight raised like a weapon. A young woman stood at the base of the stairs, her cleaning uniform matching his own. Lana. He'd seen her around the embassy, always working, always silent. She looked terrified and determined in equal measure. "You found it," she breathed. "I've been searching for 3 months." "You knew about this?" Lana moved past him to the terminal, her fingers flying across the cracked keys with practiced precision. "My grandmother told me stories about the disappearance. 20,000 humans vanished overnight from the colony ships. The Velkari said it was a navigation error, that the ships were lost to void storms." She looked up, eyes blazing. "They lied. They took them, buried them here like secrets." The terminal beeped. "Pod status stable. Life signs active. Estimated revival time 6 hours. Can we wake them?" Edward asked. "We have to." Lana's hands trembled as she initiated the revival sequence. "Do you know what 20,000 humans means? That's 3 times the current human population in this entire sector. We've been kept small, scattered, manageable. But if they wake up, we won't be weak anymore." Edward finished. The pods began to hum, their frost-covered surfaces starting to clear. Inside fingers twitched. Eyelids fluttered. An alarm shrieked through the chamber. The terminal flashed red. Unauthorized revival detected, security protocols engaged. "They know," Lana said. "We need to get out, spread the word before what?" A voice like grinding metal filled the chamber. Ambassador Thelixus descended the stairs, flanked by Velkari guards, their chitinous armor gleaming. "Before you ruin 3 centuries of careful population control?" Edward stepped in front of Lana, his cleaning mop held like a staff. Ridiculous. Pathetic. Human. "You kept them like specimens," he said. "You were afraid of us." Thelxus's compound eyes reflected the emergency lights in 1,000 facets. Afraid? No, cautious. Humans are chaos. In your first century of space travel, you sparked 4 wars. You refuse to follow protocols. You question everything. You are exhausting. The ambassador's mandibles clicked with something like amusement. So we pressed pause, made you grateful for our rescue from those lost colony ships, kept your numbers small enough to manage. Behind them, the first pod opened with a hiss of escaping frost. A woman sat up, gasping, confusion and terror warring on her face. Then another pod, another. You can't stop it now, Lana said. In 6 hours, 20,000 humans wake up, and they'll have questions. Thelxus stared at the opening pods, at Edward with his ridiculous mop, at Lana standing defiant despite being half the ambassador's height. Exhausting, the ambassador repeated, but there was something new in that grinding voice. Something that might have been respect or fear. Yes, that's exactly what you are. The guards didn't move. The ambassador didn't give the order. Because they all understood what Edward and Lana had just done, they'd reminded the galaxy why humans were dangerous. Not because they were strong, but because they never stopped being curious, never stopped digging, never stopped asking why, and sometimes that was enough.